Under layers of snow and ice, Oak Island is committed to keeping its secrets buried during the winter. The representative of Kellyo, another treasure hunter, is Dave Spencer. In order to get more accurate data than they did, Gary Drayton and the father and son team, Bob and Robert Leonard, are traveling to the frozen marsh. The team used the DeepMax X6, a sophisticated metal detector with a larger frame coil and mounted on a sled, last summer with the goal of finding metal objects up to 40 feet underground. The data gathered can be examined in a three-dimensional map, which may show the location of potentially valuable items. Rick Lagina. They were hoping to get large numbers in the swamp near the northern end of the swamp, on land owned by Fred Nolan's family, and the team's commander is persistent and has succeeded in doing so. Rick Lagina recently discovered a sizable wooden stake that was carbon dated to the 1500s and was thought to be proof of survey markers that were used to lay out the limits of a big construction project centuries ago. Fred came to the conclusion that Oak Island was originally two islands that had been intentionally connected by the triangle-shaped marsh. Dan and Fred hauled one up together, chopped off the tip, and sent it to be carbon dated. The team is thrilled with the findings but is careful not to become overly thrilled. They intend to return and run the detector once more to determine their current position. Through metal detecting tools and a methodical approach to excavation, the Oak Island team is committed to uncovering the secrets of the island's past. They hope to uncover gold, silver, and other priceless historical artifacts buried beneath the ice, and their work will remain essential in the continuous hunt for the answers to the Oak Island mystery. While exploring the enigmatic triangle-shaped marsh on Oak Island, Rick and Marty Lagina discover a survey stake that is verified and raises the possibility that it was created by humans. The stake is preserved from the bottom, giving it a sense of age and time. The stack's appearance impresses Marty, and her degree of suspicion decreases. The group is also asked to look into the ghost and curse stories from Oak Island. Rick and Marty zoom in on the first stake, which resembles a skull, 10 times. After hearing footsteps in a boogeyman but finding nothing, paranormal investigator Linda Harry talks about her encounters with the swamp and its mysterious aura. The investigators then take Marty and Rick to the swamp, where they had encountered odd, inexplicable events. Marrow. Jennifer. Because of the energy it emits, one of the investigators feels most uneasy in the swamp. She is concentrating on the trees there and feels that anything buried on Oak Island should remain undisturbed. 5 indication lights on one of the small green lights on the swamp can read the artifact using the SkySkin 1273 CT scanner and X-ray fluorescent spectrometer to determine its composition, which could help determine when it was created. Later that morning, Craig and other team members meet with blacksmithing expert Carmen Liga, who has come to examine the mysterious copper plate. If the plate has any military insignia or regimental numbers, it could tell us who created the feature and possibly buried valuables in the money pit. The copper alloy, which is made up of copper, zinc, iron, lead, and arsenic, is thought to have existed for more than a century before the money pit was discovered. The team thinks that Sir William F.I. Pease, who found the Concepion in 1687, may have been on Lot 5 doing something that many people are familiar with. Some of the treasure from the conception was hidden to Oak Island thanks to the work of 32-degree Freemason Scott Clark. The team has identified a prime suspect who could have been responsible for the 230-year-old mystery. After recovering more than 34 tons of the valuables from the renowned Spanish treasure wreck known as the Concepion, which sank off the coast of the Dominican Republic in 1641, Sir William F.I. Pease, an English politician and naval captain, returned to the wreck with the assistance of Captain Andrew Belcher, a Freemason, who brought less than 5 more tons of treasure to the English crown. F.I. Pease made 2 successful salvages of the Concepion in 1687. Clark is adamant that Baylor and his associates were moving valuables from the Concepion to the Oak Island region. In addition to explaining who built the vault in the swamp where former landowner Anthony Graves may have found a cache of Spanish silver, if the team can demonstrate that Sir William F.I. Pease and Andrew Belcher act with water again when his mining ground in the Wolf Cut was taken over by water. Underwater mine site. Parker was looking for a pay streak in the 4-acre Wolf Cut on his Alaskan claim. He hoped that it would bring him at least 1,000 ounces this season. The pay dirt was 30 feet below, and the team had to dig out 1,000 yards of extra material to get to it. 4 feet more, and they would be below water. After that, it would be 30 feet before they hit rocks. But things weren't really fine as they seemed at first. The process was going on right next to a pond, and water would be the first thing that would go wrong if something went wrong. Frozen mud was the best option because it kept the water out. Recruit John Baudry was told to deal with the mud and keep the water out, but it looked like the cut was pretty wet, so they had to call their boss. If not, things will go badly if they do. It turned out that the mud got worse and spread faster as they opened up more areas. They still hadn't even cut out a fifth of the area. The Wolf Cut is next to a pond that is pretty old. There was only a small berm between them, not strong enough to stand up to the water pressure if it was messed with. They dug down and found frozen ice that stopped the water from getting in. The permafrost was broken, which now lets pond water seep through the wall and flood the cut. The area will soon have a lot of water if they let it keep going. There was a need for action to save the day. They thought getting a pump would be the best thing for them to do. To fight the water, Parker planned to dig a sunk pond in the cut that was as deep as it could go and put in an 8-inch pump to drain it. He was not going to lose another water fight. After setting it up, they had to wait until the next day. Their plan as a whole was good and seemed like it would work, but how do they choose a pump to drain water that big from a pond without first making sure it works and fixing any problems it might land? Often tell it what its rules are. Another look at the area points to the harshness that is hidden by the light. Parker and his team's determination should definitely be praised. Recently, the weather has gone up, which has raised the bar for what is acceptable. This seemingly normal talk showed how hard these people's lives were. They had to work from dawn until dusk in the hot sun. The next step was to sluice there, but that wasn't official yet. As the thought of starting the sluicing process set in, there was a sense of excitement in the air. After some time, they said that sluicing wouldn't happen because they needed to get better at it first before moving the business. The team was eager to start sluicing, but first, they had to make some strategic choices. There was a lot of tension in the gold mining business because Tico, who was making efforts to make things run more smoothly, set a hard goal. As the order echoed through the mining site, the story unfolded quickly. Tico wanted the plant to begin buzzing before morning. The attention then turned to Tyson, whose scary job it was to move slucifer around on a pole that wasn't stable. Tyson had to make up slucifer out of a leaning stick he had lying around. The language used made it clear that the business was sloppy and rushed, even if no one knew how to make learning staff. Putting pressure on Tyson became an important part of the story, a major source of tension that gave the story more depth. To move the slucifer, you had to have a steady hand and a lot of skill that you learned over time. Tyson had to deal with a lack of experienced hands while working on a tough job. Alec and Liam helped out the last time, and it looked like they were going to drag Lucifer while Evan Kurtz, who was just an operator and didn't know how to move a wash plant, moved Lucifer. The moving of the wash plant was complicated by the fact that parts had to be slung up to the slucifer and then pulled down to the new pad by the 750. The main reason it was hard to do was because changing wash plants was hard to do when there were already few hands available. As Tyson and Evan took on the job of moving the pieces of slucifer to its new location, the story took an interesting turn. It wasn't just a jump that was being planned, it was a symbolic risk in the dangerous world of gold mining. Once slucifer was taken apart piece by piece, sharing could be seen as both a risky move and a game of chance. People who watched this story grow as a dynamic journey had to think about what would happen with the operation and the luck that was going on at the same time. Everything that was done in the world of gold mining had the power to change the whole. Once lucifer was taken apart piece by piece, sharing could be seen as both a risky move and a game of chance. People who watched this story grow as a dynamic journey had to think about what would happen with the operation and the luck that was going on at the same time. Everything that was done in the world of gold mining had the power to change the whole course of the season, even Slucifer's seemingly random jump. The 45-ton wash plant, Slucifer, that held the promise of $364,000 in gold hung over their heads. Tyson and his team had to carefully move Slucifer so that the process would go as planned. To get to its new wash plant pad, Slucifer had to go up a steep ramp, which was hard to do because of the environment. Tyson used the 750 excavator, which was the best one on site at the time, to help carry the heavy Lucifer up the hill because he knew it was a period piece. As the story goes on, there is an amazing scene of bravery as they try to get around their opponent. But behind it all is the dangerous operation. The shot was tense because of the way the land was angled and how rude the Washington plant was. The wash plant started to slowly but surely rise because Tyson knew how to use everything he had at the time in a strategic way. From the first few steps toward the wash plant, you could feel the stress in the story, and Tyson's main point made the already difficult task even harder. He said that his bucket would be used as a small wrench. He talked about how you need to be able to adapt and be creative when you run into problems you didn't expect. At this point, everyone is almost in pain.